Hey guys, tonight we're diving deep into a stormy, lonely night where the rain pours down relentlessly and the shadows stretch long and cold. You probably won't be able to sleep after this, but isn't that why we're here, to stare into the dark, to listen to the quiet things that creep just beyond the edges of your vision? So before you curl up, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy the spooky tales I tell here. And hey, drop a comment with your location and local time. I want to know if this darkness might be sneaking into your night too. Now turn off all the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft buzzing like a breath from the shadows, and let's step into tonight's journey. The storm arrives like a slow, ominous drumbeat. At first, it's just a few scattered drops against your window pane, hesitant and shy. Then the sky opens wide, unleashing hours of rain that drum harder, louder, as if the heavens are trying to drown the night in a flood of cold silver. You're alone. The house creaks softly around you, settling into its usual nighttime symphony. But tonight it sounds different, heavier. Shadows cluster in corners, pooling like spilled ink across the hardwood floors. The air inside is thick with that electric-charged smell that always follows a storm's first strike, the scent of ozone and wet earth. You pull your blanket tighter around your shoulders, but the chill isn't just in the air. There's something about nights like this. You know, when the rain blots out all familiar sounds and the world shrinks to just the four walls you're in. Your eyes flicker from window to dark hallway, trying to find a shape or a sign that this night will stay just that night. But there's an itch in the back of your mind, that tiny voice that whispers, maybe you're not quite as alone as you think. Researchers still argue whether our brains are wired to sense things lurking in the dark, or if it's just the mind's way of coping with isolation. But that doesn't stop the skin on your arms from pricking. The storm isn't just outside, it's inside you now too, pounding relentless, filling every creak and groan with possibility. Lightning flashes, illuminating the room in sharp white slices that feel like fleeting truths revealed then stolen away again by the returning blackness. In one bright burst, you think you see a figure, just a shadow, maybe a trick of the light, but enough to set your heart pacing. A fun little historical nugget here in 1888, during one of London's worst storms, the infamous Jack the Ripper murders peaked. The fog and rain didn't just hide the killer. They turned the city into a labyrinth of whispered fears and vanished footsteps, proving that storms and darkness are perfect accomplices for the unknown. As you sit in the dim light, listening to the rain's relentless tattoo, your mind drifts to that quirky paranormal tidbit. Some believe rainstorms can thin the veil between worlds, allowing spirits to wander freely, their moans carried on the wind, and their sadness soaked deep into the soil. And you swear, just as thunder rumbles low, that you hear a soft tapping at the window, not raindrops, but deliberate rhythmic, like a message spelled out in Morse code by an unseen hand. You tell yourself it's nothing, just the storm talking, but your fingers curl tighter on the blanket and your pulse quickens. The night is still young, but it already feels like a weight pressing down on your chest, urging you to listen closely, or else. The lights flicker again once, twice, before plunging the room into a dim, jittery half-darkness that feels like the world's pulse has stuttered. You sit frozen, your breath caught somewhere between calm and the flickering shadows that dance just beyond your vision. The storm outside thunders, like a giant's heartbeat pounding against the window, but inside the silence stretches thick and uneasy. Then, just as you start to relax, you catch it, a whispered name, curling through the rumble barely audible, like a secret that doesn't want to be heard. You strain to listen, the hair at your neck standing on end. The voice is so soft, so fleeting, it could be your mind playing tricks, or maybe the rain carrying the sound from some far-off place. But it feels personal, like someone knows you're here alone and is reaching out from the shadows. You scan the room's heart thudding in your ears. The walls offer no answer, only the familiar hum of old pipes and the occasional creak of wood settling. The house is quiet, too quiet, except for that faint whisper. It's funny how our brains latch into things like whispered names. Some psychologists say it's a survival mechanism, a way to make sense of incomplete stimuli, but researchers still argue whether these auditory illusions could be actual messages from other realms. It's the kind of debate that keeps late-night radio shows buzzing. You catch yourself wondering if the whisper was a warning or just the storm trying to tell you a story you're not ready to hear. Lightning flashes again, sharper this time, and the room is momentarily carved into black and white. In that flash, you think you see movement in the corner of your eye, a flicker of something standing just beyond the reach of the lamp's glow. You blink, and it's gone. You remind yourself there's nothing in the house, but you at the sensation of being watched grows stronger. Have you ever heard the eerie fact about how Victorian-era gas lamps sometimes flickered in response to unseen presences? People believed spirits could manipulate light, a theory mostly dismissed today. But it adds a layer of creepiness to this flickering now, doesn't it? Like the night itself is breathing with you alive and waiting. A low, mocking chuckle bubbles up somewhere, maybe from your own mouth, trying to break the tension, or maybe not. You laugh softly, the sound swallowed quickly by the storm's roar. Great, you think even my imaginary friends have a sense of humor. Then a sudden sharp noise, a knock at the door. Not the front one you locked hours ago, but the basement door downstairs. That heavy, seldom used door that always gave you chills. You freeze again. Who's there? You know you live alone. You rise slowly, each step echoing like a drumbeat in the empty house. You pull open the door just enough to peer into darkness, deeper than the night itself. No one, only the stale, damp air, the faint smell of earth and old wood. But beneath that, you swear you hear faint breathing, too slow, too deliberate to be your own. You step back, heart pounding, like the storm outside, and slam the door shut. A little historical weirdness to keep you company in the 19th century. Some haunted houses were thought to be gateways to the afterlife, and unexplained sounds were often recorded by early spiritualists as proof of ghosts. Skeptics still debate whether these recordings captured anything real or just the creaks and groans of old buildings settling. You shiver, whether from cold or something else, and return to the living room. The lights flicker one last time, then settle into a dull glow like the house is holding its breath. Outside, the rain pounds harder, drowning out the silence and the whispers alike. You tell yourself it's all just a storm playing tricks. But as you sit back down, the feeling lingers like the night's watching, waiting for you to make the next move. The rain races down the window pane in endless chaotic streams each droplet tumbling faster than the last, chasing its neighbor like a desperate waterlogged game of tag. You watch them with a strange mix of boredom and unease, their patterns hypnotic, yet unsettling until you notice something odd. Among the natural erratic rush of raindrops, one streak moves with a peculiar, almost deliberate rhythm, as if it knows it's being watched. Your eyes trace the path of this lone drop, and then another, and suddenly you're certain something beyond the glass is matching their pace. Too steady, too perfect to be natural, the world outside feels both familiar and alien under the storm's relentless handling. The trees bow and sway, the wind howls low and mournful, and yet there's that unnatural rhythm, a heartbeat beneath the rain. You press your palm flat against the cold window, feeling the damp chill seep through your skin, and try to peer into the sheets of water. But all you see is darkness, punctuated by flashes of lightning that illuminate the skeletal shapes of branches like twisted fingers reaching toward you. The sensation of being watched intensifies. You glance over your shoulder, half expecting to find someone lurking in the shadows behind you, but the room remains empty, save for the dull hum of the storm. Your breath fogs the glass, and you wipe it away with the sleeve of your sweater, but the strange rhythm continues as if mocking your efforts to see clearly. It's unsettling, this dance between the rain and whatever lies beyond. A quirky paranormal tidbit in some folklore reign is said to be a messenger between worlds, and those who watch storms closely might glimpse signs, patterns, and raindrops, or flashes of lightning that hint at spirits trying to communicate. Whether that's true or just a comforting story, it certainly adds a chill to the cold wetness pressed against your skin. You try to rationalize the strange rhythm. Maybe it's a trick of perspective, the way some drops stick and slide slower than others, or an optical illusion crafted by the flickering streetlights outside. Researchers still argue whether human perception can truly distinguish random nature from intentional patterns, or if the brain just wants to find meaning in chaos. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding and lean closer. Suddenly the raindrop rhythm stops. The silence is sharp, almost painful, as if the night itself is holding its breath. Then, in that heavy stillness, you catch the faintest sound, soft tapping very close, almost right beside you. Your heart leaps. You spin around the floor, creaking beneath your feet, but the room is empty. The tapping stops as abruptly as it started. You laugh nervously, muttering, "Great now. Even the rain has a soundtrack." But the unease that sticks to your skin like the dampness outside. A historical nugget floats through your thoughts during the great New England storms of the 17th century. Villagers believed the rhythm of rain could be a warning from the spirits of the forest, a sign that something dark was stirring beneath the earth. Today, skeptics shrug, but those old stories cling to the rain like moss on stone. You glance back at the window just in time to see the reflection of something standing behind you, fleeting and shadowy. You whirl around, heart pounding, but again the room is empty. The storm rages on relentless, as if daring you to look deeper into the darkness. You turn slowly, a shiver tracing down your spine, as the cold breath brushes the back of your neck, light as a whisper, but unmistakably there. It feels like someone exhaling just behind you, though the hallway stretching out in front of you is empty, its shadows pooling like spilled ink in the dim light. The house feels colder suddenly, the kind of chill that slips beneath your skin and settles in your bones. You try to shake the feeling, but it clings persistent as the rain tapping against the windows. The hallway stretches away, long and silent, and you know you shouldn't look, but your eyes are drawn to the darkness, like a moth to flame. There's no one there, just the familiar shapes of furniture and peeling wallpaper, but your breath hitches as you swear you catch a glimpse of movement at the edge of your vision. Something just out of reach, like a trick of the light or a shadow playing games. Your heart hammers against your ribs, louder than the storm outside. A flicker of old superstition creeps into your thoughts. In medieval Europe, it was believed that a cold draft in an enclosed space was the passing of a restless spirit, a chill that no fireplace or heavy cloak could chase away. People carried charms and salt to ward off these invisible chills. Researchers still argue whether these sensations are the brain's way of coping with fear or actual paranormal phenomena, but tonight it certainly doesn't feel like a comforting theory. You step forward cautiously, each footfall echoing softly against the wooden floorboards. The hallway feels longer than usual, stretched by the silence and your own growing dread. Your skin prickles, and you hear it again, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper, like a breath of air carrying words just beyond comprehension. You tilt your head, trying to catch the sound, but it dissolves into the rustle of the storm outside. As you walk deeper into the hallway, the shadows seem to shift and stretch, coiling around corners and lurking just beyond the reach of your flashlight's beam. The air grows heavier, as if weighted with unseen eyes watching from the dark. Your breath catches in your throat when a sudden draft skims past, tugging at your hair, and clothes like an invisible hand beckoning you forward. There's a weird paranormal tidbit that sometimes a cold breeze in an otherwise sealed room can signal a spirit portal, a weak point where the worlds brush together. Some say that these spots are doorways to another realm, thin places where the living and the dead almost touch. Whether that's just poetic myth or something more tangible is a debate that echoes through haunted house research. You stop at the far end of the hallway, staring into the darkened doorway of what was once the guest room. The door is slightly ajar, and the faintest glimmer of light flickers from inside. You're sure you locked it earlier. The hairs on your arms stand on end as the whispering grows louder, just beyond the threshold, calling inviting or maybe warning. The storm rumbles louder, and for a moment you feel utterly exposed, as if the night itself is leaning in, watching your every move. You remind yourself that this house has its quirks, its creaks, and groans, nothing more. But the breath on your neck and the whispered voices tell another story, a story you're only just beginning to understand. The radio crackles to life on its own, a static hiss that claws through the quiet, like fingernails on a chalkboard. You glance over, startled, because you don't remember turning it on, and you're pretty sure no one else is home to mess with it. The screen flickers erratically, throwing tiny bursts of white noise into the room. Then, amid the hiss, you catch half words, broken fragments of conversation you can't quite piece together, and beneath it all, a faint, eerie laughter that sends a shiver rippling through your skin. You reach out hesitantly and twist the dial, but the static remains stubborn and alive. The laughter lingers like a ghost, trapped between the frequencies, shifting and warping into something almost human, yet unmistakably other. Your fingers tremble slightly as you adjust the volume, trying to catch more of the sounds, but all you get are whispers, half-spoken phrases that make your heart race and your mind reel. Some paranormal enthusiasts believe that old radios can pick up signals from beyond voices trapped in the ether, or echoes of spirits trying to communicate. It's called electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP, and while skeptics dismiss it as interference or imagination, those who've experienced it firsthand swear by the chilling authenticity. Researchers still argue whether EVPs are genuine ghostly messages or just random noise our brains desperately try to interpret. The static crackles louder, and the laughter sharpens into a soft but sinister giggle. Your eyes scan the room, nervously half expecting to see someone standing there. You tell yourself it's just the storm affecting the electronics. But deep down, you know there's something more, a message you're not meant to understand, but can't ignore. Compelled by a mixture of dread and curiosity, you head toward the basement door, the source of many uneasy memories. The basement has always held secrets, old boxes filled with forgotten items, shadows that seem to linger too long, and a damp, musty smell that makes your skin crawl. Tonight, the radio's eerie chorus draws you closer, as if the basement itself is calling you down into its cold, dark belly. As you reach the heavy door, the laughter fades into a low hum, and the air grows noticeably colder. You hesitate, hand hovering over the knob, wondering if some part of you already knows what awaits below. But the storm outside seems to urge you on, the rain pounding like a drumbeat, syncing with your racing heart. A quirky fact: in the early 20th century, spiritualists often used radios and telegraphs during seances, believing these devices could bridge the gap between worlds. While technology has advanced the idea that electronic devices might act as conduits for spirits, persists feeding the imagination, and sometimes your nerves. You turn the knob slowly, the door creaking open to reveal darkness, thick and suffocating. The basement's stale air rises up, mingling with the smell of damp earth and forgotten things. The radio's static flares for a moment, then cuts off entirely, leaving you in silence, save for the relentless rain outside. You take a deep breath and step inside, the floor cold and uneven beneath your feet, as if the basement itself is holding its secrets just out of reach. Somewhere in the shadows, a faint whisper curls and fades, urging you deeper down into the unknown. The basement air is heavy with dampness, thick with the smell of wet stone and forgotten years. Your footsteps echo faintly as you move deeper into the gloom, the beam of your flashlight cutting a narrow path through the dark. The walls are cold and rough, mottled with patches of mold, and streaked with moisture that glistens like black ice in the weak light. Somewhere, water drips slowly, a steady, rhythmical sound that matches the relentless rain pounding overhead. Your eyes catch something etched into the crumbling plaster, faded scratches, almost like tally marks or strange symbols carved in haste. You reach out fingers, trembling slightly, tracing the lines that could be messages, warnings, or desperate pleas. The deeper you peer, the more you feel a pull, as if those ancient marks hold a story that wants to be told, but refuses to speak clearly. It's unsettling the way the basement seems to breathe alive with the memory of things best forgotten. Paranormal lore often links basements with restless spirits, claiming these underground spaces trap energies, a liminal zone between here and the beyond. Quirky but true, or at least widely believed, is that spirits tend to linger where the veil is thin and basements with their cold shadows and sealed doors are perfect traps. Researchers still argue whether this energy is residual or conscious, but when you feel the hair on your arms rise, it's hard to care. A sudden chill presses against your skin, and you hear a faint voice beneath the steady drip of water. It's just below the edge of hearing a murmur that dances at the boundary between sense and nonsense. You strain to catch the words, but they slip away like smoke, leaving only an eerie silence in their wake. You take another step and stumble slightly, catching yourself on a rickety old shelf laden with dusty boxes and forgotten relics. The faint beam of your flashlight catches a flash of something, a small, old photograph, its edges curled and water-stained. The image is faded, but unmistakable, a group of somber faces, staring back eyes, shadowed and hollow. Among them, a young girl with a cracked porcelain doll in her arms. That doll, remember it from earlier, the same cracked face that seems to watch you even now, its eyes, too, knowing for comfort. You tuck the photo away quickly, feeling the weight of unseen eyes pressing down on you. Historical fact. In Victorian times, dolls were believed to harbor spirits, either protective or malevolent. They were often buried with children or left behind in homes as silent sentinels. The idea of a haunted doll might sound like a horror movie cliché, but its roots are far older and far creepier. You swallow hard and turn back toward the stairs, the basement's secrets heavy on your mind. But as you near the door, you hear its slow, steady footsteps above, circling the floorboards directly over your head. You freeze. The sound is deliberate, measured a rhythm that does not belong to the house settling or the storm outside. You live alone. There is no one up there. Yet those footsteps move with an eerie certainty, as if someone or something is pacing just above, mocking your solitude. Your heart pounds in time with the footsteps overhead, each measured step slicing through the silence like a sharpened blade. You freeze, the cold basement air turning to ice in your lungs, the old wooden stairs creaking softly under invisible weight. The storm outside rages, but inside the footsteps have taken on a life of their own, deliberate, heavy-paced. You remind yourself you're alone. There's no one else in the house, but the sound continues circling, pacing, almost as if it's playing a game with you. You step back into the shadows, clutching your flashlight like a lifeline, and your mind races to the dark corners of folklore. In many cultures, footsteps heard with no source are said to be the wandering souls of the restless dead, doomed to repeat a path they can never complete. Some even claim that certain footsteps are warnings, a spectral presence trying to draw your attention before something worse arrives. Researchers still argue whether these unexplained noises are real or just tricks of the brain in low-light fear states. You try to laugh it off your voice, a dry whisper in the vast, oppressive silence. Great, you say, apparently I've got a ghost roommate with the worst timing. The irony isn't lost on you, but it doesn't stop the cold sweat from prickling on your skin. You glance upward toward the creaky floorboards above, and something catches your eye, a faint glow emanating from beneath your bedroom door. Curious and apprehensive, you climb the stairs slowly, each step heavier than the last. The light flickers gently like a candle struggling against the wind, though you don't remember lighting anything. When you reach the top, The air is suddenly warmer, almost stifling, but the room beyond remains dark, except for the soft glow seeping under the door. You reach out and twist the knob, the hinges whining in protest. Inside the room is empty, save for a small, old-fashioned lantern sitting on the floor, its flame dancing without any breeze. You reach down the light, flick around wildly, as your hand closes around the handle. The room goes cold again, and the door slams shut behind you. Suddenly, the whispering starts soft, urgent, impossible to ignore. It's a language you don't understand, syllables dripping like poison. The lantern's flame stretches and shrinks, casting long shadows that twist and writhe. You realize the voice is coming from the lantern itself. The giggle returns sharper, crueler, echoing through the room and wrapping around your thoughts like a noose. There's a historical curiosity here. Lanterns were once used in spiritual rituals to guide souls or trap malevolent spirits, their light believed to hold power over the unseen. Whether this was superstition or early ghost hunting technique, it lingers in your mind as the flame flickers against the wall's peeling wallpaper. Your eyes dart to the cracked doll from the photo you found downstairs, now inexplicably perched on the windowsill. Its glassy eyes seem to shimmer in the lantern light, reflecting a knowing smirk. You try to turn away, but the room spins, the whispers growing louder, faster until they drown out everything else. The storm howls outside, matching the chaos inside. You clutch the lantern tighter, wondering if you're the one trapped, or if something else is holding this house and you hostage. The whispers morph into something almost melodic, like a lullaby sung in a language you don't know, but feel deep in your bones. Your pulse quickens as the lantern's light flickers wildly, casting grotesque shadows that leap and stretch across the walls. The cracked porcelain doll's eyes gleam in the shifting glow, as if alive and watching your every move, silently judging your intrusion. You try to steady your breath, telling yourself it's just the storm playing tricks on your mind. But the air feels thick, charged, as if the room itself breathes and pulses around you. A sudden gust. No wind, you realize, snuffs out the lantern's flame, plunging you into darkness so complete it feels like a physical weight pressing against your eyelids. Your fingers fumble, desperately seeking the flashlight, but it's gone. Panic claws at your throat as the whispers rise to a deafening crescendo, then abruptly stop, leaving a ringing silence that hammers in your ears. In that crushing quiet, you hear a soft, deliberate tapping coming from the corner of the room. You turn toward the sound heart hammering and see the doll now sitting upright on the floor, its head slowly turning to face you. The cracked smile seems wider, more sinister. You want to laugh, to scream, or to run, but your body is frozen, trapped in the doll's gaze. A quirky paranormal tidbit. Some believe dolls can become vessels for spirits, especially if treated as protectors or given importance by their owners. It's said the more attention a doll receives, the stronger its spirit grows, sometimes twisting into something dark. Researchers still argue whether this is psychological projection or something truly supernatural, but standing there, you're no longer sure. The tapping grows louder, rhythmic now matching the pounding rain outside, until it becomes a steady beat that syncs with your own racing heart. Suddenly, the room feels impossibly vast, the walls stretching away into an endless void. You're no longer alone. The historical fact that flickers through your mind feels oddly comforting, in the 19th century seances were common in haunted houses where participants claimed to contact spirits through tapping and rapping sounds on walls and tables. The idea of communication through rhythm ties ancient fears to your present moment. A cold breath brushes your ear, and a whispered word so faint it could be imagined stay. The doll's cracked head tilts, and the world blurs. You stagger back the room, spinning wildly, as if the storm has uprooted reality itself. Outside, the rain pounds harder, louder, and you realize the night has only just begun. You stumble backward, your breath rag the doll's chilling presence, burning into your mind like a brand. The room seems to ripple around you, shadows folding in on themselves, thickening with every heartbeat. The whisper soft but insistent echoes in your ears, like a broken melody pulling you toward the window. You realize the rain outside has shifted from a relentless drum to a gentle patter, the storm seeming to pause, holding its breath, in sync with your rising panic. The cracked doll sits motionless now, but its eyes glint unnaturally in the faint moonlight filtering through the rain-streaked glass. You reach toward it, but your fingers meet only the cold floorboards as the room stretches and warps again. The walls breathe and pulse like the inside of a living creature closing in and pushing away in an endless, maddening cycle. A shiver runs through your body as you recall an eerie historical fact. During the Salem witch trials, people believed that objects, especially dolls and personal items, could be cursed or possessed by dark spirits' tools for malevolent magic. Whether or not those beliefs were true, the fear that something harmless could hold such power has persisted through centuries. Researchers still argue whether possession is a genuine paranormal phenomenon or a manifestation of human psychology. The room darkens further, and you feel a cold touch graze your cheek, like a ghostly finger tracing a path of frost. The tapping sound returns this time from the window, slow and deliberate, like the heartbeat of the night itself. You move closer, compelled and terrified, and as your hand touches the glass, the temperature drops sharply. Your breath fogs the pain, and you see a faint message written in the condensation, "Don't look outside." A strange, paranormal tidbit flickers in your mind. In some ghost stories, spirits use condensation to communicate warnings, leaving fleeting messages on windows or mirrors. Though skeptics dismiss these as coincidence or trickery of light and moisture, the idea adds a new layer of dread to your storm-soaked vigil. Your eyes flick to the hallway behind you, where the faintest flicker of movement shimmers in the shadows. You turn quickly, heart pounding, but see only the empty corridor. The silence presses in, heavy and suffocating, as the storm outside begins to pick up again, rain hammering against the window like frantic fingers desperate to escape. You try to shake the creeping sense of dread and tell yourself it's just your imagination running wild in the darkness. But something deep inside warns you that the night is far from over and the house still has many secrets left to reveal. You step away from the window, the cold message still lingering on the glass, like a faded warning. The room feels oppressive, the air thick with something unseen yet unmistakably malevolent. Your flashlight flickers weakly in your trembling hand, casting long, jittery shadows that dance along the cracked walls. The rain outside intensifies, drumming a furious tattoo against the roof, as if echoing the pounding of your heart. You move cautiously toward the hallway, the floorboards creaking underfoot with every step. Somewhere distant but unmistakable, the slow pacing of footsteps resumes circling the rooms above. The sound is steady, deliberate, and somehow patient, as though whatever is haunting this place is biding its time, savoring the game. A historical note surfaces in your mind. The infamous Winchester Mystery House in California was built continuously for decades to confuse and trap spirits, its endless hallways and secret rooms, a physical maze meant to imprison the restless dead. Though your own house lacks such labyrinthine complexity tonight, its walls feel just as confining and enigmatic. Researchers still argue whether architectural confusion can deter spirits or simply drives the living mad. The air grows colder still, and you feel a subtle shift, like the house itself has taken a breath and now watches you with quiet anticipation. As you round the corner, your eyes catch something, a faint glow beneath the door of the living room. The light pulses softly like a heartbeat, beckoning you closer. You pause, then slowly push the door open. The room inside is empty, bathed in an unnatural pale light that seems to shimmer without source. The furniture is draped in white sheets, ghostly shapes frozen in time, but it's the fireplace that draws your attention. The hearth flickers with blue flames, casting eerie shadows that writhe and curl like living things. A quirky paranormal fact: blue flames are often associated with ghostly manifestations, believed to be a sign of spiritual energy or otherworldly presence. While science explains blue flames through chemical reactions, the lore around them adds a haunting beauty to the spectacle. You approach the hearth, mesmerized and unsettled. Suddenly the flames shift, revealing a series of symbols etched into the brickwork. They glow faintly, pulsating with a rhythm that matches the footsteps overhead. You recognize some of the markings from the basement, ancient runes meant to bind or summon forces beyond human understanding. The whispers return, rising from the flickering flames, weaving into a song of sorrow and warning. Your breath catches as the room darkens, the blue fire dimming to a cold, ghostly glow. The house holds its secrets close, and tonight it's deciding just how much you're allowed to see. The symbols, etched into the fireplace bricks, pulse gently, the glow casting long, wavering shadows that seem to move with a will of their own. Your fingertips hover just above the rough stone, and the air hums with an energy both ancient and disturbingly alive. A chill sweeps through the room, wrapping around you like a cold, invisible cloak. You realize the house isn't just haunted, it's sentient, aware of your presence, and somehow engaged with you. You try to steady your racing thoughts, reminding yourself of a historical tidbit during the medieval period. People believed that symbols and sigils could trap demons or spirits, acting as protective wards or binding spells. Some of these symbols remain mysterious to this day, their meanings debated fiercely among scholars and occultists alike. Researchers still argue whether these ancient markings hold real power or are merely symbolic talismans born from fears and superstition. As your eyes adjust, the symbols begin to shift, the runes rearranging themselves subtly like a living puzzle. The whispers swirl around you, incoherent but urgent, a language just beyond comprehension. Then a faint voice cuts through the murmurs, a child's voice, soft and trembling, repeating a single word: help. You swallow hard, your skin prickling, as memories of the basement photo resurface the girl with the cracked porcelain doll, her hollow eyes haunting the edges of your mind. Could it be her? The same presence that seems to watch and guide you through this nightmare. A quirky paranormal fact floats to the surface. In some cultures, children are believed to have a unique connection to the spirit world, their innocence allowing them to see and communicate with entities invisible to adults. This idea fuels countless ghost stories and explains why children often feature in hauntings. Whether it's truth or myth, the sensation of a child's presence in your home tonight feels real and terrifying. The blue flames flare up again, casting harsh light on the symbols as they rearrange one last time, forming a new message. Leave. Your breath catches, but before you can react, the fireplace snaps shut with a thunderous crack, plunging the room into darkness. Outside, the storm howls anew, a fierce wind rattling the windows like a chorus of voices. The house groans and shifts alive and restless. You're caught in the middle of its ancient game, and the stakes have never felt higher. Darkness swallows the room, thick and suffocating, but you refuse to let panic take hold. Your fingers search blindly along the wall, seeking the familiar cold metal of your flashlight. It's there, cold and solid, and with trembling hands you flick it on. The harsh beam cuts through the blackness, revealing the abandoned hearth, now sealed tight as stone. The symbols have vanished, leaving only the cold bricks, lifeless and indifferent. Your heart still pounds, echoing in your ears, louder than the storm outside. The wind rattles the windows, the rain hammering the roof, but inside an oppressive silence reigns. The house seems to be holding its breath, waiting. You feel the weight of unseen eyes pressing in the presence, lingering just out of sight. You recall a chilling historical note, the practice of spirit binding using fire and symbols dates back centuries, believed to imprison malevolent entities within flames. Yet there are countless stories of such rituals backfiring, releasing spirits instead of containing them. Researchers still argue whether the fire's energy contains spirits or simply triggers deeper hauntings. A faint shimmer in the hallway catches your eye, a wavering shadow flickering like a mirage. You move toward it cautiously, the floor creaking underfoot. The shape solidifies into a figure, a young girl, translucent and glowing, faintly clutching that same cracked porcelain doll. Her eyes are deep wells of sorrow and fear. She steps forward, voice barely audible. "Help me." The words send a chill down your spine, both plea and warning. You want to reach out, but your limbs feel heavy, as if the house itself is anchoring you in place. A quirky paranormal tidbit comes to mind. Some spirits are believed to be trapped by unfinished business or trauma lingering in the mortal world until their plight is resolved. Others say these apparitions can manipulate time and space, making them unpredictable and dangerous. The girl gestures toward the basement stairs, eyes imploring. You hesitate, remembering the scratches on the wall, the whispers, the footsteps. But the storm outside intensifies, the night growing colder. You realize that whatever is trapped in your home wants you to follow to uncover a truth buried in the darkness below. The spectral girl's eyes lock onto yours, filled with a sorrow so deep it feels like a physical ache. Her delicate fingers tighten around the cracked doll's neck, and she beckons silently toward the basement stairs once more. The house groans softly, as if agreeing or perhaps warning you against descending again. The storm's fury pounds relentlessly above the rain's rhythm, now a frantic tattoo that blends with the echo of those unseen footsteps circling the floor above. You hesitate, but the pull is irresistible. Every fiber of your being screams to turn away, but you step toward the narrow staircase, the air growing heavier with each step downward. The basement welcomes you back with its cold embrace, the damp stone walls closing in as shadows stretch long and twisted. The tally marks and strange scratches on the walls seem to pulse faintly glowing with an eerie blue light that guides your way deeper into the darkness. The whispers return soft but urgent, weaving around you like silk threads, then twisting into something sharp and sinister. You remember a historical fact, the Blue Lady of Basingstoke, a spirit said to haunt English basements, was rumored to appear to those who sought the truth beneath their homes. Researchers still argue whether such legends are warnings or invitations from the other side. The cracked doll's eyes gleam in the dim light, reflecting your own fear. As you move further, you notice the faint outline of a door carved into the stone wall, one you hadn't seen before. It's slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning. You push it open and step inside, finding yourself in a cramped room filled with relics of a long-forgotten past, old toys, faded photographs, and cryptic notes scattered across a dusty table. A quirky paranormal tidbit surfaces. Some haunted basements are thought to serve as portals to other realms' liminal spaces where time and reality blur. Whether true or folklore, the sense of stepping between worlds is undeniable. As you sift through the remnants, a folded letter catches your eye, its edges yellowed with age. Unfolding it, you read words scrawled in trembling handwriting. The doll holds her soul broken and restless. Free her, or be trapped as well. The weight of those words settles on you like a stone. The house isn't just haunted, it's a prison, and you're at the center of its darkest secret. The letter's chilling message echoes through your mind as you stare at the cracked doll, now resting on the dusty table, its lifeless eyes staring back with a haunting intensity. The room's stale air presses close, thick with years of secrets and sorrow, and you realize this is no ordinary haunt. This is a trap, a twisted web, woven through time, designed to ensnare anyone who dares uncover the truth. You recall a grim historical fact. Victorian spiritualism often involved using personal objects, dolls, letters, keepsakes to bind spirits or communicate with the dead. Some seances even resulted in tragic possessions where the objects became vessels for restless souls. Researchers still argue whether these rituals opened doors to the beyond or simply preyed on grief and imagination. Your fingers tremble as you pick up the doll, its cracked porcelain surface cold and unnervingly smooth. The whispers surge again louder now, circling your ears like a tempest urging you to act. You remember the scratched tally marks upstairs and the cryptic runes in the living room. The house is speaking in a language older than words. A quirky paranormal tidbit flickers through your mind. Some believe that spirits can be trapped in objects, their energies bound until a ritual or act of release frees them. Whether it's myth or reality, the thought of a trapped soul inside this fragile doll sends a shiver down your spine. You decide to try something, a gesture born of desperation and hope. Gathering the scattered notes, You arrange them around the doll, forming a crude circle. You whisper a plea for peace, your voice barely audible over the pounding storm. The room seems to hold its breath. Suddenly, the doll's eyes shimmer, the cracks seeming to pulse with an inner light. The air vibrates with energy as a soft, sorrowful sigh fills the space. Shadows dance and twist, then slowly begin to dissolve like mist. The whispers fade into silence, replaced by an overwhelming stillness. You feel it freedom, release the heavy weight, lifting from the house. The storm outside lessens the rain, softening to a gentle drizzle. You dare to hope that the restless spirit has finally found peace. But as you turn to leave, a faint giggle echoes behind you, a reminder that some shadows never fully disappear. You step back from the table, the cracked doll now eerily still, its haunting glow faded into a dull porcelain calm. The room feels lighter, as if the very air has been cleansed of years of sorrow and unrest. The oppressive weight that pressed against your chest loosens, replaced by an uneasy calm. Outside, the storm begins to wane, the rain slowing to a soft patter, like a lullaby coaxing the night toward dawn. Yet the house remains alive in its silence, the walls seeming to hum with a quiet vigilance, watching and waiting. You catch your breath, the echo of the faint chitchel still ringing faintly in your ears, a mischievous reminder that not all darkness is banished with light. You wonder if the restless spirit was truly freed, or simply moved deeper into the shadows, waiting for the next curious soul to awaken. You remember a historical fact. Many haunted houses have layered histories, with spirits bound not just by one tragedy, but by generations of sorrow and secrets. The Winchester Mystery House is a prime example, built to confuse spirits, yet many say the hauntings persist, a testament to the lingering pain within old walls. Researchers still argue whether such places are cursed by history or shaped by the fears of those who dwell there. A quirky paranormal tidbit surfaces. Some believe that laughter or giggles from spirits signal playfulness or unfinished business, rather than malevolence, like a ghost's way of saying, "I'm still here watching." Whether it's a warning or a comfort, it leaves you wondering about the nature of the unseen. You take a deep breath, the storm's last breaths whispering against the window pane. The night's journey has been long and dark, but you've survived it, changed perhaps, but alive. The rain slows, the storm fades, and the first hints of dawn start to chase away the shadows. Now, as you finally close your eyes, the house settles into a quiet stillness, the night's eerie symphony fading into a soft, distant hum. The darkness has released you for now. Word count 1 out of 60, 300-word wind down. The rain's gentle tapping softens into a soothing rhythm, a quiet lullaby washing over the house as the night slowly fades away. You feel the tension drain from your body, your heartbeat easing to a calm, steady pace. The shadows, once thick and suffocating, retreat into the corners, leaving the room bathed in the pale light of early morning. Though the eerie whispers and flickering shadows still echo faintly in your mind, they now feel less like threats and more like distant memories, ghostly echoes of a night spent peering into the unknown. You remind yourself that these stories, as chilling as they are, exist in the spaces between reality and imagination, where our fears take shape but also lose their power. Sleep begins to call gently, wrapping you in a comforting embrace, a soft shield against the darkness that lingers just beyond sight. The house breathes quietly now, peaceful for the moment, its restless spirits momentarily calmed by the dawn's light. You carry with you the thrill of the night's journey, the brush with shadows, and the strange beauty of things unseen. Remember, the darkness always waits, but so does the dawn. Rest easy, knowing you've faced the night's mysteries and lived to tell the tale. Sleep tight if you dare,